All right, this video is dedicated to Curious Marc and Al and Chuck and all of you who have ever worked on the tension band of a QIC cartridge of any size. And I do mean any size, whether we're dealing with, the DC 300, DC 600, DC, DC 6150. Of course, those are the same size, or the smaller form factor like this. All of you have had to deal with tension band issues, as have I, in attempting to restore QIC cartridges. And so, I am going to try out something that I learned first from Curious Marc, from one of his recent YouTube videos over the last few months. However, after researching it, I realized that it's actually been discussed on at least the Classic Comp email list for many years now, and I'm just now realizing it. So forgive me for taking so long to get up with it, so to speak. Okay, and that is a suitable replacement may or may not be for the tension bands on these QIC cartridges. A suitable replacement may be Plastibands by Conserve. Now, I did buy, after watching Marc's video, I said, I'm going to try that, absolutely. But I didn't know what size to use because he was working with the smaller size form factor tape. The smaller size form factor tape right here. Okay, maybe the DC 2000 size, right? So that's much smaller. So of course this is going to take a different size tension band than these tapes will, but of course it's the same overall design. Now, that said, he was recommending one of these smaller ones. Not exactly sure which one, but we're dealing with different size tapes here, so I thought I'd just go through them all. So, I got the assorted sizes 100 piece. Let's get that there. I got the assorted sizes 100 piece package. This is the SF7000. And on the back, it says that it's supposed to contain 50 1.5-inch Plastibands, 52 1/4, 43 1/4, 44 and a, what is that? 4 1/4, and 26-inch Plastibands. That's what it's supposed to have in it. Now, I am certain that the distribution of these different sizes was not that number. Some cases it was close, some cases it wasn't, but we'll get to that later. Alright, so let's have a look. I believe that this is the, this one right here is the 1.5-inch. This here would be the 2 1/4. This here would be the 3 and, is that 3/8? Yes, the 3 3/8. Oh, 5/8. Ooh, 3 5/8. This one would be the 4.5, and this one would be the 6-inch. Okay, very, very colorful. And at least in this package, all of the ones of a certain size were of that particular color. So all of the ones that were black were this size, blue this size, red, white, green, and so on. So they were fairly easily, in this package, easy to identify by their color. I don't know that they're always that way, but they were in this package. Okay, so that said, let's do some comparisons here. What comparisons shall we do? Well, let's see. I think we should put these on some cartridges. So I just happen to have some cartridges ready to go, already in the affixed position down to the bench right here. So I already have some cartridges ready to go, affixed to the bench right here, ready to put on some bands. And we're going to do a little bit of a comparison. This should be fun. So let's see here. What should we start with? Now, I think I've pretty much decided that I really don't want. I wonder if I messed that up. From smallest to largest, I believe it was like this, right? So 1.5, 2 1/8, 3 5/8, 4 1/4, and 6. Yeah. So I believe that I'm not even going to bother with these two. They are just way too small. So I thought what I would try is the 3 5/8, the 4 1/4, and the 6-inch, And then compare that with a freshly boiled, factory 3M DC6150 cartridge band, just to make sure that we're using the best possible. You know, I don't think any of these tension bands were made in the last 25 years that we're aware of, so at least I'll do a fair comparison. So let's begin, shall we? Alrighty. So let's see, we'll set these out right here. Ready to go. And what I am missing is the freshly boiled band for this one. So let me see if I can find that. What did I do with that? I think I put it in tape right here. Not only did I put it in a tape, it broke. I boiled it 2 days ago, I put it in, it worked great, and today it's broken. So, I don't know, maybe boiling shortens the life. I have some videos on that where that was an option for me, but you know, my point out of these is to get some good reads, and I don't necessarily need them to last longer than a week or two. But it sure would be nice if they did, wouldn't it? Okay, well, I'm going to get another band, and we're just going to do this all at once here. Alright, so there we have it, the freshly boiled tension band. And we're going to put that on tape number 4 over here. So, we read from left to right, so let's just go from left to right. Well, I don't know what I meant by that, but let's start over here, shall we? Let's see what it's like to put this one on. And this is my first time trying this, so this could be quite disastrous, but we'll see. I'm going to give him a fair shot here. Alright, all tapes are anchored down very nicely. This one's going to be the toughest, so maybe it's just as well I start with that one. Make sure I have my bamboo here. Very good tool I like to use for this. Chopstick. Alright, now, I mean, I already can see with the thinness of this, it's just going to slip right off the edge there. I suppose, I usually do this the other way around, but let me try it this way. You know, it's just really stretched tight. You know, it's kind of giving that edge a hard time over there. And see, that's why I usually start with this other side, but you know, I could do it just differently because these stretch. These are more, you know, these are definitely they have more flexibility of stretch than the originals, but not so much that they're like a rubber band, which of course is way too stretchy for anything useful. Well, surprise, surprise, it actually fits. So, that's one. Well, let's just go down the assembly line here. Alright, so let's remove the reel anchors. The tape reel anchors I have here. Alright. Get the tension right there. Good. Okay. Well, it's moving. Well, I could certainly see why I could easily come off of these rollers here and this one here, as thin as it is. You can easily see that. Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going. So, now, let's see, this which size was this? This was the 3 and 5/8, the white one. So this one is going to be the 4 1/4, the red one, 4 1/4. Okay. So we shall work with the 4 1/4. Now let's see if I can do this one a little bit more normally, meaning that I start on this side first. That's what I'm used to doing with the older ones. You know, where I just do that, because that way I don't feel like I'm dragging across the tape that much. It's easier to wrap around. See, these are just tighter than anything I've dealt with here, so this is where it just gets crazy. Alright, well, if I'm going to do that, let's keep this roller on. This is not easy. I mean, it's never easy. A little bit of a crinkle there. Get that out of there. Alright, now see if we can get this right over there. Good. Okay. Also pretty tight. Okay, remove the tape anchor and tension. Uh-oh. Oops. That's why I like to put this extra layer here to make that section of the tape not stick. That's why I like to put this extra layer here to make sure that that section of the tape is not sticky. But I don't think any harm was done. It's also why I never want to do this in the middle of a tape. I only want to do it at the end, so in case I accidentally pull off any of the binder or the ferrite material, that it doesn't have any data on it, and it's not going to have any data on it because it's going to be part of the leader, so to speak. Even though these tapes don't really have a leader, you know, it's the beginning of tape area with the holes. Okay. I can certainly see that having a problem as well. We'll see how it runs. If it centers itself or what. I've always been very curious about these, you know, why this is high in the center like that. There, let that focus a little bit better. I've always been very curious about why this is high in the center like that. I always thought that maybe, you know, that should be designed more like a pulley, right, where it should be lower in the center instead of higher in the center. So, you know, it would have a tendency to center itself instead of ride one way or the other. But maybe if somebody knows, they can explain that. All right, let's move on to these other two over here. Right there. And we're going to go with the 6-inch and the original freshly boiled band. All right. So first, let me get these out of the way. With the, now see, I like that. That is so much wider already. So much wider. This is a little bit closer to the length that I'm used to dealing with. At first, when I tried this, and I admit I've tried this, I've tried before. These two I haven't. This one I have. At first, when I tried this, I thought it was going to be too long. But, well, we'll see here. I'll withhold comment until we demonstrate. As you know, testing multiple times usually determines if something is really a feasible option or not. Okay, right there. See, now what I'm noticing about this is see that I had that problem before. This is like slimy. And it's not really slimy like there's a residue on it, but it's very slick to the touch. Very, very slick. More so than these. I guess these are slick, but there's not as much surface area. This has more surface area because it's wider, but it's much more slick to the touch than the original punched ring bands that came with the tapes. At least as they are now. I don't know what they were like 30 years ago, because I never messed with them 30 years ago. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's pull off the reel anchors and tension this tape here. Well, I personally like that a whole lot better, because I just think that looks like it's going to go really smoothly. Much more so than these, but you never know. We'll run it and see. These are my test tapes, so if they get destroyed, I'm not going to feel too bad. Mildly disappointed, but not too bad. Okay, oops. Not quite. Got ahead of myself there. Alright, so now we're going to compare with the factory, freshly boiled, punched ring band. I believe this came out of one of my 3MD C6150 tapes. The ones that I've been, basically where I've been getting all of my bands right up until buying these things. And we'll see if these are good alternatives. And see, with these are actually a punched ring, so one edge is narrower than the other, as you can see by this. These are actually flat belt-like rubber bands where they're the same all the way around, but this isn't. And of course we know that because it's been well reported by Chuck in particular that this was once a ring and then was just rolled into a cylinder, and you can clearly see that in just about every band. And I think I have some pictures on my site at QICreader.com that actually shows one. I think it's a little bit more stretched out, but it's definitely a flat ring. You know, it was punched out of a flat ring or cut out of a flat ring. Anyway, regardless, with this, I always like to put the narrow side up so that it has a tendency to ride up towards that rim right there. Let that focus a little bit better. Yep, good. Okay. And so that's how I like to put that on first. And let's see. Alright, so this is much more like what I've been used to dealing with over the last few years as I've worked with these tapes. Never easy. Never easy. And I never seem to, get this done in one try. Maybe I just don't have the dexterity for it. And, I don't do it every day. I suppose if I did, I'd get very used to this. How do I want to do this? I think I'll change. To me, this is always the hardest part because I don't want to wrinkle the tape that's on here. And so that right there usually is a point where I get close, but I try to even that out right there. Might be a little bit crinkled, but we'll see. Okay. Good. Alrighty. There we go. Okay. Wasn't perfect, but it'll certainly do for now. Let's remove the reel anchors and tension the tape. Here we go. So this is functioning as I would expect, being, from the original design. Compromised by age, of course, but freshly boiled, I think it's, at least for the next few hours or days, it's going to be as close to its original condition as we'll be able to get it. Certainly looks like it's running well. Well enough. I think there was some unevenness on this reel before I started, so I'm working that out now. Yeah, I'm not so worried about that. I know that'll work itself out as I Go back and forth. Okay. So, which one should we start with? Should we start with the smallest band, the largest, or should we start with the factory for comparison? I think we should start with the factory for comparison, and let's just go on down and see how we do. All right, so let's get our universal QIC tape reader in position here and see what we can do. Well, I guess, again, I'm a little ahead of myself because I need to remove the back plates from the bench here. I've got them all anchored down, nice and snug, and, well, they're not going to do so well like that, so we'll just take each one of them up. Never did 4 at once before. This was kind of fun. All right. So, I believe we'll put the covers on. I wrote bad on that one because at the time it had some problem. I wasn't satisfied with what I wrote to it at the time, but we're not testing the coercivity of these tapes today. We're just testing the back and forth flow of the tape with the bands. And let's see, the last one right here. Now, I'm going to live on the edge, and I'm not going to put the screws back in just yet. And that's okay. I'm not too worried about that coming apart. That hasn't happened to me yet. So, let's take this tape out. Make a little space for ourselves over here. And we'll go in this order. 2, 3, 4. Very good. Universal QIC tape reader in position. We have our reference conserve Plastibands package at the ready to make the comparison. So first, the regular. So, this would be the baseline. This is how we would expect them to behave. So, let's do a little closer here so we can see the action. All right. So, power. And we're going to do tape initialization of position. Functions exactly as I would expect it to. Let's go forward a little ways. I had some irregularities on here. I think they've just worked themselves out right now. That had to do with the way the tape wound up. And we'll just reverse. That looked good. I don't feel the need to go all the way to the end on this one. I could. Oh, why not? Let's go all the way to the end. Give it a true test, because I plan on doing that with all of them. Let's stop in the middle. Go back and forth a little bit. As will happen in normal operation in normal machines. Go all the way to the end. Which is an actual retention, and then all the way back again. Alrighty, we've reached the end. Now let's go back again. It seems to be working very smoothly, every bit as smoothly as I would expect with a freshly boiled, fairly good condition factory tension band. So this is our baseline. If any of those behave as well as this, I would say it's a success. Particularly after long, prolonged use. Alright, there we go. turn off the direction and go. All right. Test successful on the factory original punch ring PVC, PV, PU, excuse me, polyurethane tension band. All right. So, now let's try the 6-inch. The 6-inch Plastiband. Right there. 6-inch Plastiband. Okay. Nice and green. Definitely distinctive. Looks very neon 90s, doesn't it? Even though this tape is probably from the 80s. It could have been 90s. Definitely neon 90s. Look at that. Looks much more exciting than the original. Alright, let's check this out. Okay. Initialize. So far, so good. Let's go forward. So far, so good. Let's do a little reversal here. I'm discerning, just by the way I'm used to these, that there might be just a little bit of drag with this. I don't know what it is. I mean, the tape drive is maintaining the same speed because it's you know, the circuitry is designed to, if I increase the load on this, the circuitry increases the voltage to the motor, so it always has a regular speed. There's a little pulse tachometer there, which is how it keeps track. But I don't know, I'm just discerning that it's got a little bit more drag on it. I don't know why I have that feeling. It just seems like it, being used to these things. I mean, I haven't done this, you know, maybe hundreds of times over like Al and Chuck have, but, you know, I think I'm up to about 50 or 100 reads on some of these tapes by now. So that's where that comes from, that experience, that sense. But it does seem to be working. Test a little bit harder. Anyway, let's go all the way to the end and all the way back again. Give it a good test. All right. So far, so good. And let's go all the way back. Not sure what that is. I wonder if there's a varying in the thickness. That would be unfortunate if there were, because it might cause a little bit of wah and flutter on the data. Not sure if all devices would compensate for that as well. On my universal QIC tape reader, I don't do a lot of this, you know, because I've just got the logic analyzer capture running for the entire run of the tape, from front to back and then from back to front again. So I don't do a lot of back and forth. But, you know, if I put it in a factory machine like the Mighty Frame, well, it's going back and forth all the time, especially when it's doing an install or writing to tape, because it only can keep so much in the buffer, so it goes forward, reverse, forward again, and then reverse. And I find that some of those older machines, the less memory they have, the more they do that. The less distance they go each way before they reverse. Probably again with the memory available in a buffer, I would guess. Okay. Test a little bit more. Well, you know, aside from the little bit of drag that I discern, I'm liking it. I'm liking it. Tape has good tension at the end. Doesn't seem to be sloppy there. A little bit better than this, actually. So, I am, at least preliminarily, going to give this a pass. Going to give this an okay. And even though I didn't technically reveal this before now, I did actually try a few of these over the last few days, and I've had success with those too. So this has been very consistent. Now that I've revealed that to you, I've actually, done this before this demonstration. But what I will be doing for the first time now is this. Never before have I tried this one. Nice and pretty red, but it looks pretty thin. And let's see, what size is this? This is the 4 and a quarter. 4 and a quarter Plastiband, the red ones, right there. 4 and a quarter. All right. Well, here we go. If I had just looked at them, looked at all of them and say, just choose one you think is going to work the best, I would have chosen the green one. So I'm going to say that right now, and we'll see how right or wrong I am about me just looking at this saying that is too thin and too small. Here we go. Let's give it a whirl. All right, let's turn these off. All right, tape initialize. Well, so far, it's done better than I thought. Let's run it forward a little bit. Now, can you hear that? That sounds more distinct than this. I was getting a little bit of that with here. But here I'm hearing it. And I would say that that's, if I can hear it like that, I just can imagine that the timing, it's got to mess with the phase lock loop sequence of the data timing, a little bit anyway. I maybe could get it to work if my universal QIC tape reader, and because I've written some software that compensates for some of that to a certain extent. But of course, that's more work, so why use less than the best option? Anyway, I'm prejudging. We're not done with the test yet. AJ, we're not done with the test yet. Okay, let's go. Go! I would say that's a fail. That is a fail. Slipped right off. And I had a feeling it would do that with the thinness. So, I would say that is officially disqualified. So, sorry, 4 and a quarter Plastibands. You may work well for the smaller tapes given the size. The DC 2120s. You may work well for this size, but I don't think you're going to work well for the full-size QIC cartridge. So, sorry, you are disqualified. Okay? And so, if that is disqualified, well, should we even try this? Well, let's put them to the race. Let's see if it makes it any further than this one. All right. Here goes nothing. Tape initialize. Ready? Oh, can you hear it? It's worse. That's even worse, I think. And I suppose I would expect it to be. Okay. Well, here we go. It's holding. Let's try a little reversing. Still holding. All right, let's run it. See how far it gets. I do not like that. Okay, well, amazingly, the smallest one that we've tried actually beat this one, at least in this first test. I still don't like it because it's really fluttering there. And of course, I'm nowhere near as inclined to trust this as I am the green one so far. All right. we've made it to the end with the 3 5/8. I can't believe we've actually made it to the end with the 3 5/8, but we did it. That's why we're doing this test. Let's go back, see if it makes it back. It also really whines a lot. I'll bet that's just under a lot of tension. Amazing. Well, I don't like how it sounded the whole way, but I was not expecting it to make a round trip. I was not expecting it to make a round trip. Oh, it's starting to squeak. It's got to be wearing. That tension just has to be too tight, and whatever. You know, I'm wondering if these things just have irregularities in it that the original punched ring, polyurethane punched ring, just does not have, and maybe that's why they were punched out of some perfectly flat sheet so that that could be regulated better. I don't know. But the tension here is the worst of these two. Of course, this is completely disqualified. This one's completely disqualified because it's, you know, it's slipped off. This tension, I don't like. This tension hasn't maintained very. It's still acceptable for running, I think, but it just hasn't maintained as good of a tension as this or this. This one's maintained a better tension than this. Right? So the 6-inch has done the best so far. I don't know that it's, you know, overall outperformed the original polyurethane ring, freshly boiled. Yeah. So, you know, gosh, look at that. It just looks like it's going to slip right off of there, doesn't it? It's just so tiny, like it's a thread. You know, I have an example of a factory band that looks thinner than I'm used to. Let me see if I can pull that out and have a look at what that looks like. Yeah, one of these. And this is one of my oldest tapes from the 70s. It's not mine, actually. It's on loan from somebody that needed some data reading help. But it's got the label there. Yeah, so you see that? This is I can't show the backside because it's got the label. Yeah, there you go. See that? It's thin, right? But this is actually the factory belt, and surprisingly, even though this is one of my oldest tapes, it's in like the best condition, right? I don't even know what brand these are. The labels don't actually show a brand, so that's what that reminds me of. But these, whatever they made these out of, these were fantastic, because these you know, look at that. That tension's fantastic, and you know, I've never restored this one. This one has to be from like the mid to late 70s. This has to be one of those early tapes, and I don't know if it's generic or what, but I've never found. I don't think I've found a brand name on these. Oh yeah, actually I might have. Yeah, I think it's. This was in one of them, the same style, so maybe it's just a very early Scotch data cartridge. Anyway, we're now here to talk about the ancient stuff, although that's fascinating. We're here to talk about this. So let's do a comparison, shall we? Let's run this one again, because I want to see, you know, now we have just so much smoother. Just the initialize right there. Just runs so much better. Let's take that out, compare to the thin one that I'm surprised hasn't broken yet. The, what is it? I've watched it already. The 3 5/8. Let's compare it to the 3 5/8. Yeah. You hear it. These tapes are really identical, and I'm pretty sure they were in, for the most part, identical condition when I started. So, yeah, I'm just not a fan. Go back to this. And then, just for comparison, let's go back to the factory punched ring. 30-year-old factory punched ring. Okay, well, I'm going to have to say that the only thing that I think is, at this point, superior about the 25 or 30-year-old punched ring that's been freshly boiled is the fact that I discern no, you know, flutter or wah. I think maybe it's more wah. Wah, 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 wah. I discern none of that with this, nor would I expect to. Just with my ear, I discern an ever so slight amount with this. It was worse with this before it failed, and it's by far the worst with this one. The fact that this has survived is just amazing. But, given replacement tapes, if these aren't available, and they really aren't, I mean, the way I've gotten them before is just to buy the 3M brand only or iMation brand only DC6150 and rob them, which was a suggestion from Alcaso. The only reason I've ever done, you know, that's the only place I've ever gotten them before now. So this seems to be like about the most acceptable. Yeah, I like it. So I'm going to say that of the Plastibands, the 6-inch Plastiband is the winner. So here it is, the winner, the 6-inch Plastibands, which in this particular package is green. Now, here's the final thing to note. In this package, it says that I'm supposed to get 50 of the itty-bitty ones that we didn't even try. 50 of the second itty-bitty ones we didn't even try, the 1 1/2 and the 2 1/8. Supposed to get 40 of the 3 1/8, 40 of these. 40 of the math isn't even right. 40 of these. I'm just realizing that. 40 of these 4 1/4s. And a whopping 20 6-inch. 20 of these. Now, let's do the math. 50 plus 50 is 100. 40 plus 40 is 80. Plus 20 is another 100. So, if you add all of these up, it says 200. It's as if 200 came in this package. Well, you know how many came in this package? Zing, zing, 100. So the math is a problem on the packaging, but that's not the biggest thing I have a problem with. The biggest thing I have a problem with is, if that were the case, then proportionately I should have gotten 10 6-inch Plastibands in here. And so here's all the rest of them. I did not count, but it certainly seems like there's a good, healthy cross-section across all of them. But do you know, of the one that is now the winner, the 6-inch, do you know how many were in there? Not 10, not 8, not 6, not 5, but 4. So out of the advertised 20, or if you think about the math, the expected 10, I got less than half. I got 4. So this box was about $8 on Amazon. And so I don't know if it's a free-for-all, just get lucky. Take your chances, however many of these you get in there. It's obviously going to be less than all the others, just because it's the smallest here, and, well, it's definitely the smallest here. But I don't know if sometimes you'll get 6. I'm going to order some more and find out. But anyway, this I got 4. I hope I never get less than 4, because that makes this, well, $2 per band, which isn't bad, given the fact that, you know, the best I've ever done is $10 per DC 6150 tape, and all I did was steal the band. And then, you know, there's a chance that those aren't going to last that long because they are 30 years old, 25, 30 years old. And they all need boiling and what have you, for the most part. Anyway, you know, if it only has 2, of course, now it's at $4 per band. So it all depends on how many you get in here. Now, I did try. Can I buy just the 6-inch Plastibands? Well, I did that research, and there were listings for the 6-inch Plastibands, a pack of 50. But I found one on Amazon that had been out of stock for who knows how long. And I never actually saw the packaging. I just saw this, and it looked like a red one next to a quarter in a picture. Just that one, and you know, it looked like it's out. It's out. It's the only one on Amazon, and I couldn't find it anywhere else. I have emailed, actually filled out the contact us form on baumgartens.com, and I am awaiting a reply to see if there's a better way that I can get the 6-inch bands, a quantity of the 6-inch bands, because I think it would be absolutely fantastic at this point. Now, I haven't done a lot of data testing yet, so I might be making a premature conclusion. But so far, for my purposes, for universal QIC data reading, I think it's going to be okay, just based on my experience. So I'll do more tests. I'll actually try one of my more difficult reads, and you know, maybe swap back and forth between the 6-inch Plastiband and the factory polyurethane punched ring that's 25, 30 years old, and see if that increases my chances here with the universal QIC tape reader. But so far, I am certainly willing to give it a shot. So 6-inch Plastiband as far as this is concerned. All right, everyone, best of luck on this, and thank you for watching.